Hello chess friends and welcome to Azad of Chess channel and welcome to the TCEC Season 26 Cup Superfinal between the two top engines Stockfish and Leela C0. So we have now the battle between AI Kasparov versus AI Karpov. The tactical beast meets now the positional monster, and the tournament is over. We know who is the winner. At the end of the video I'm going to reveal you the final standings of the TCEC Season 26 Cup Finals, but first of all we want to of course analyze one game. Let's dive into a beautiful sharp tactical game between Stockfish and Leela C0. So with the white pieces in one game, they played the Stockfish open with the move e4. We have g6 by Leela, d4, the modern defense, knight to f3, c5, and now after move c4, here we have a certain invitation by white to go into the Marozzi bind of the Sicilian defense. If black would have taken, for instance, here with the move c takes d4, then after knight to d4, we would reach the Marozzi bind against the Dragon Sicilian. Nothing spectacular, of course. This position has been played many times with great success also for black, for white. But after move c4 that Stockfish played, the prearranged move by the organizer was now an aggressive queen to b6. We have now d takes c5, going to c5, bishop to e2, and now the last move that has been now prearranged by the organizer was now the move knight to c6. From this point on, the engines had to calculate the position for themselves. And what's the issue? Still we have this Marozzi bind structure, this c4 e4 pawn structure in the center of the board. We had a similar position like in the Sicilian, so the pawn of the c5 by black has been traded now for the pawn on the d file by white. But the downside, we have to say it, for black is here that the queen is on a natural square. Probably the queen will be kicked away. Probably white will gain many attacks against the queen and will develop simply. So I think it's a risky line by black. In chess history, believe me or not, this has been a successful line for black. I see the first 4 games ended with a draw, and the first winning game was actually by black. So it's a spiced up line, I would say. Although the engine gives here almost a +1 evaluation in white's favor. So very tricky position. So here after move queen to c5, kingside castling by Stockfish, d6 by Leela, h3, bishop to e6, hitting now the pawn on c4. So now Stockfish attacked the queen drops back to b4, and now knight to d2. What's the issue here? For instance, if you take queen takes b2, then rook to b1 obviously happens, and now knight to g5. Very dangerous. This pawn is protected. If you, for instance, go something like knight to f6, we have even c5 here. You try maybe to pass through, we take. So many tactical options, but I think we can agree this is not the optimal position here for black, with especially when we take out now here the bishop on e6, then after f takes e6, the pawn structure here is messed up. So after move knight from b to d2, that's why we have knight to f6, normal development, and now knight to g5 again here by Stockfish, again simply going for the light square bishop. And this move is actually even a theoretical novelty. This move has never been reached so far in chess history. In chess history, queen to c2 has been played in one winning game here by white. But okay, knight to g5, very aggressive move, which is basically not allowing here black to drop back to d7. Believe me or not, this would be already a very dangerous position for black because of this idea. c5, look at this. This would be very crazy. D takes c5, rook to c1, hit simply the pawn on c5. You're trying somehow maybe to fix the pawn, but now with a3, look at this, the queen gets even trapped after rook to a1. So very tricky stuff already prepared here by Stockfish 16. So that's why after knight to g5, Leela says, okay, go for the bishop, but at least I will try somehow with the move e5 to cement the position around the square d4. The downside always for white in this Marozzi bind structures is that with this e4 c4 structures in the center, that you have left basically a weak square in your camp. It's of course the d4 square, and the downside is that you cannot kick away any of black's minor pieces with your pawns anymore, because you have advanced your all pawns already. So basically what Leela is searching for now is for an outpost around the square d4 to cement really the position in the center of the board. Of course, the downside now for black is that white has a bishop pair, and especially the position could crack somehow around the square e6. This is now, I think, the main object of white's attack. So we have rook to b1 protecting the pawn, king to h8. You see Leela gets out of this potential light square mess because Leela doesn't have anymore the light square bishop. So that's why black's king could be endangered, of course, on light square. So that's why good position move also by Leela. We have a3 kicking away the queen, b4. Queen drops back to c7, and now queen to c2, e5. That's now the idea that we have talked about, simply a fixed position around the square d4 by black. So that's why knight to b3, Stockfish prevents this. We have knight to d7, bishop to g4. Now when the knight has left the defense of the g4 square, Stockfish is searching maybe even for some good maneuvers of the light square bishop. We have knight to f6, we have rook to c1, and now you could maybe take with knight to g4, h takes g4, and you could maybe search for your outpost. But now after queen to d1, knight to b3, rook to b3, if we evaluate now this position, obviously white's dark square bishop is much better than black's dark square bishop. The black's dark square bishop is now neutralized, it's paralyzed by its own pawn structure. So in this potential line, white would be much better. You have to also worry about some ideas of c5 here. So there's simply no way that black's dark square bishop will get into the game. So too many pawns in the center are on dark square. So even if black would have gone into this line after knight to g4, still white would be much better. I think we have to understand why, for instance, here knight to g4 is not really such a powerful idea here for black. So that's why here b6, fixing the structure, bishop to e2, rook from a to d8, bishop to f1, and now Leela is searching now again for this outpost on d4. Stockfish prevents it with queen to b2. We have rook to b8, queen to a2, and now Leela finally goes with knight to d4. We have queen to d2, knight to e6 by Leela. Leela is now searching for a new square, maybe even the beautiful f4 square. We have queen to d5, we have knight to f4, queen to d1, knight to e6, and now Stockfish is not allowing anymore Leela to jump on the f4 square, simply protects it with the move g4. We have a5, queen to d5, knight to d4. Even if you play here rook to f6, maybe to protect the knight, then there is this problem. c5 is breaking here the position on the queen side. I think after something like b takes c5, we can play b takes a5, or even here b takes c5, but I think knight to a5 is also possible. B takes a5 also very dangerous for black to handle because of the passer on the a file. So that's why after move queen to d5 and attack against the knight, Leela played now knight to d4, played simply for a couple of trades of pieces, lost in this tactical sequence one pawn. Leela lost a pawn, but again Leela has the same plan, to fix the position simply around the square d4. Leela wants to go into lines like e5 and then to reroute the knight again on the d4. Leela is going for this powerful square on d4. Very a nice positional idea. Although Leela gave up a pawn, but I think it's a good idea to somehow fix the position on dark square, because we have to say now in this position white's light square bishop is not the optimal piece, because it's also a little bit paralyzed by its own pawns. We have now rook to f6 by Leela, queen to e3, rook from f to b8, attacking the pawn, rook to f3, kicking away the queen, and now comes this idea e5. We have queen to b2, a takes b4, a takes b4, and now Leela goes for the outpost on d4, and there's not so much that can be done. If you play, for instance, b5 to protect the c6 square, to not allow maybe black to jump on d4, then you have left yourself here backward pawn. It's also then a strategic disadvantage. Then Leela could search maybe here for the c5 square, then maybe go to e6 and again reroute the knight on d4. So after rook to d1 that Stockfish played, now Leela c0 goes with knight to c6, obviously going for the d4 square, and now we have h4, rook to f6, we have rook to d5, h6, bishop to h3, king to h7, rook to d2, and now finally Leela gets this knight on d4, and it's really a nice positional setup now by black. This knight is simply the best, almost the best piece on the board, and you can guess what Stockfish is doing here. Stockfish is saying, you lost so much time to get your knight on d4, and Stockfish gets the knight away here, sacrifices the exchange here on d4. Very brave decision by Stockfish. After e takes d4, queen to d4, Stockfish is saying here, I have enough. I have now a weak pawn here that I can attack. I have also your weak pawn on b6. Your king is a little bit in danger because I could try h5, bishop to f5, getting finally the light square bishop into the game. So I'm also up in some pawns. So Stockfish has here 6 pawns, Leela C0 has 4 pawns. I think this is a beautiful compensation for the lost exchange by Stockfish. Good tactical shot in the middle game stage. So we have queen to e7, f4, rook to a8, queen to e3. We have now rook to a4, and now a beautiful move here by the fish, king to h2. If, for instance, Leela would have taken the pawn on b4 here, then comes this idea. Queen to a3, hitting the rook. You have to maybe step back, and now with e5, look at this, the queen is in danger. You have to drop back. Now we play even h5. Look at this, we play simply like something like this. This pawn is rolling. So again, a messed up position. Now we have 2 connected passers here. We have a passer on the d file. Again, I think messed up position here for black. Very tricky stuff here. King to h2, not allowing here this pawn on b4 to be taken. So h5 here by Leela. Leela is not allowing h5 ideas here by white. So that's why now finally queen to b3 by the fish. Leela drops back, and now queen to d3, going simply for the d6 pawn. Rook to a1, rook to e2, queen to a7, and now e5. That's now the main progressive plan of whites. Stockfish wants to create here a passer, supported of course by the rook. And the good part is that actually this light square bishop is always a good protector on back rank. So even if you manage somehow to place both of your pieces, the rook and the queen here by black, on the back rank, you'll never be able to deliver checkmates. The light square bishop is really a powerful defensive piece. Not only of course a defensive piece in some lines, it can be also used as an attacking piece. So we have now d takes e5, rook to e5, going now for the h5 square. Rook to h5 is now a threat you cannot take because of the attack by the queen against the king. So we have now rook to a3, queen to d5, queen to g7, bishop to g2, rook to a7, and now queen to d3, again with the same idea of rook to h5. So that's why king to h6 by Leela C0. Queen to d2, we have queen to d7, rook to d5, queen to g4, and now c5. Stockfish creates here passer now on the c file. King to h7, queen to b2. We have a rook to e6 with the counter attack to play maybe something like rook to e2. Now we have rook to d8. Again, a counter attack by Stockfish with also some threats to deliver checkmate. So that's why rook to g7 had to be played by Leela. And now queen to b8. We have king to rook to f7, rook to h8. Now a couple of checks by Stockfish. Queen to e5, queen to d4. The rook to f6 had to be played, and now again a rook to d8. Good, really good stuff here by Stockfish, not allowing Leela C0 to get the rook on the second rank. If that would have happened, then of course black would also have, I think, decent chances in the game. So now we have queen to e6, and finally Stockfish pushes the pawn on c6. We have rook to e7, rook to d7. We have king to h7, queen to e5. Beautiful move here by Stockfish. For instance, if you try here queen to e5, then we have f takes e5, and now both of the rooks are hanging. You have to play something like rook to d7, c takes d7, and if you play rook to f8, then we have e6. 2 connected passers on the 6th or 7th rank are simply winning the game now for white. You can of course play something like this, but now e7 and 1 pawn will be promoted for sure. So queen to e5, brilliant move here by Stockfish 16. We have rook to d7, c takes d7, again with the same idea. If you take the queen, then obviously we're going to connect again both of these pawns. So we have now rook to d6, queen to e8 by Stockfish, rook to f8, and now another beautiful move here by Stockfish, bishop to e4. Very wild stuff. You can maybe try queen to d2, 1 check, but now after queen to h3, there's nothing that can be done. You're vulnerable around the square g6. The rook is hanging. If you take the queen, then we'll simply promote a new queen. If you give up the queen for a pawn, we'll simply take it. So there's simply no good option here for black. So after move bishop to e4, we have rook to g8 here by Leela C0. Also in some lines, obviously bishop to g6 is a threat. you cannot just leave the position like this. You cannot play something like, I don't know, king to h6, then bishop to g6 is going to happen, queen to g6 deflects then the queen from the defense of the rook, and also the rook on f8 will be hanging. So that's why rook to g8. We have now f5 by Stockfish. What should you do? If you play g takes f5, then queen to f7, first a check. You're trying something like king to h8, now bishop to queen to h5. We pick up now also this one. You're trying maybe to trade off something. After a couple of moves, we can also play queen to d6, trading off the queens. And now, for instance, bishop to f5 is very interesting. You cannot take the bishop because of the promotion, and the bishop is now protecting the pawn. With the bishop and 3 pawns, I think this is now completely again winning here for white. So that's why from f5 we have king to g7 by Leela C0, and now bishop to d5. Good move here by Stockfish. If you play something like, I don't know, rook to e8, then d takes e8, the promotion is actually here the under promotion of the knight, and now we pick up the queen again. The game is over. Even if you pick up the bishop here on d5, then there is this problem, queen to g6. We have king to f8, queen to f6 is again a beautiful checkmate. If you step back here to h8, then queen to h6 is also here checkmate. Very well stopped. Bishop to d5, brilliant endgame technique here by Stockfish 16. Rook to f8, we have now the promotion. What should you do? If you play here queen to d8, then we play queen to g6 again with the same pattern, queen to h6, a checkmate. So after d8 to here, the promotion, Leela C0 took, but now Stockfish took the queen on d6, and now after a couple more moves, Stockfish included now all of the pieces into the attack, and after queen to h6, it was a beautiful checkmate. So great game, great exchange sacrifice in the middle game stage, just in order to create mobile pawns. Great technique here by the fish. We have to say Stockfish won the Superfinal of the TCEC Season 26 Cup event with 10 points against Leela 0, 7 points. So the issue was that Stockfish won this pre-arranged openings with the white pieces, but managed then to defend the same position with the black pieces. So that's, I think, the beauty about Stockfish. It always defends in a certain tactical way. It always defends in a brutal sharp way, although, as I said, Stockfish has in some lines the worst position, but it manages to squeeze out with some tactics out of this position. So that's why Stockfish is now the deserved winner and has now a new cup event in his hand. So we have to also mention, I forgot about it, sorry, that the Ruby chess engine is getting very more closer to the top engines. Now it finished on the 4th place in this event. Ruby chess engine was never, I think, something that we considered in the past, but you see also other developers are making progress, so it's a brilliant situation for us. We'll see what will happen in the continuation. Maybe, who knows, maybe the Ruby chess engine will be the best engine in the war. So anything can happen, but so far it's again a pure domination by Stockfish developers. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the modern defense. If you want to see more beautiful, sharp, tactical chess in AI chess, you can check out our Competent Chess Games Played by Computer series. Here's the link of our playlist, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and what do we say in the end? Chess is the best, of course.